What is going on, guys? Greetings of peace and blessings. Now I'm going to jump straight into the point. We know mainstream media is filled with lies, deceptions, propaganda, and selective journalism, and that's purposely leaving out stories. And the same with alternative media is filled with lies, deception, propaganda, purposely leaving out stories, Zionists, Islamophobes, controlled opposition shells. And lately, there are these people in the alternative media supporting the establishment, aka Donald Trump, and then they'll claim Trump is anti-establishment when the guy has donated money to both Republicans and Democrats, aka the establishment. And then there's this guy by the name of David Icke, and he has some weird false conspiracies like shape-shifting reptilians, these lizard people, a hollow moon conspiracy. Again, I disagree with a lot of the stuff he says, and maybe he's one of those people who's controlled opposition where he says 9/11 is an inside job, but then he has a bunch of weird conspiracies to make people who say that it's an inside job look like they're cuckoo, because when you click on his videos you see that, but you also see a bunch of other stuff that is cuckoo. So then you think the entire truth movement's filled with a bunch of nut jobs. And again, if he really believes that and he's not controlled opposition, I honestly feel sorry for him. But just take a look at this clip where he talks about people in the alternative media jumping on the Donald Trump bandwagon. And again, that man claimed he's gonna drain the swamp. Well, the swamp just got 10 feet higher. Take a look at this clip and reflect upon it.
Since the emergence of Donald Trump, suddenly much of that has changed. Suddenly Donald Trump, this vacuous, demagogic man who just comes out with stock phrases about everything without any substance, without any explanation of how these things are going to be brought about. This man who plays on people's fears, on people's prejudices, that somehow this man is going to take on what they call the globalists. And as a result of that, the narrative has changed in these parts of the alternative media from you can't trust any of them, it's all a rigged system, to actually it is rigged, but against Trump, in favor of Clinton. And what I see is some areas of the alternative media becoming little more than an alternative Fox News, who are pushing this, well, Republican candidate in theory, this man promoting himself as the man who's going to make America great again. What does that mean, Donald? We never hear that. And so we have moved back from the narrative that made the alternative media different, which is it's not the person you should be looking at, it's the system. It's the system that says, in almost every country, not least America, that there are two parties, sometimes three, but usually two, that have any chance of forming a government. So you vote for Party A and they get into government and you don't like what they do. So to get Party A out, you vote for Party B and they get into government. Then you don't like what they do because they're just a continuation of what Party A did. But to get Party B out, you've got to go back and vote for Party A. And so you have this bang, 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 bang about change between two masks on the same face. But what has changed in this Trump era, from the moment he started to basically run for the Republican nomination, is that that's been forgotten, and suddenly Trump is different. And he's actually, in many ways, dictated the way that these parts of the alternative media are reporting things. You know, when he started coming out and saying he was going to build a wall to keep immigrants out, and he was going to ban all Muslims and all this, I noticed very clearly that when there were terrorist attacks, say in Europe, what the alternative media have become well known for and brilliant at is dissecting the official story of the terrorist event to show us actually it's a manufactured problem reaction solution to justify more police state and more control and surveillance. But what I'm seeing now since this Trump period began is that a lot of that's gone out the window. Now terrorist events are not being dissected in the way they were before by this particular area of the alternative media anyway. They're being used as a means to bash Muslims and to cast all Muslims with the actions of a few. And it's quite not disturbing, but I find it very unpleasant to see videos from alternative researchers talking about the hate of Islam and the way it's a hate religion. And they're delivering those videos with absolute hatred in their eyes and in their face. And what I'm sure many people who've kind of followed the alternative media, I'm sure many of them are a bit confused about what's going on. It's not the way anything's going to change, because what they're doing is becoming that which they've claimed to be exposing. They're becoming the polarity. They're becoming the means for divide and rule instead of bringing people together. And this situation has actually come about most demonstrably since Trump came on the scene. And the idea that he is someone who is not part of the establishment, I mean, please, you become a billionaire in real estate and casinos and all these things without being part of the establishment. You depend on the banking system to do what you do, and you're not part of the establishment. You interact all your life with these pillars of this hidden hand in all its forms, and you're not part of the establishment. I mean, here's a question. It's very clear now, obvious from even emails, that the Democratic hierarchy stitched up the nomination for Hillary Clinton and made sure that Bernie Sanders was not going to get it. Do we really believe that if the Republican establishment, despite the rhetoric of a few people, didn't want Trump, that he would have gone through that entire process and come out as the nomination? I mean, it's ridiculous. Those two people were chosen to run against each other before the whole process started. So how does that square with Donald Trump being this man on the white horse who's coming in to challenge the establishment? How does it square with Donald Trump talking about Edward Snowden in terms of not only is he a bad man for revealing these things that the public need to know about surveillance and the NSA, but words to the effect of, and basically execution is still legal. This is a man who's challenging the establishment. His foreign policy for quote ISIS is to baby, what was his words, basically bomb the shit out of them. This is a man that parts of the alternative media are pushing for president on the basis that this is going to be transformative and stop the expansion of this new world order global state. It's ridiculous. And why it's happening, there's probably many reasons for it, but it borders on the embarrassing for the alternative media.